Podcast. This is episode number 1142. And we're going to be talking with Crackerbox Jimmy today, better known just as Crackerbox. This guy is a former truck driver, musician, and we're going to be talking old school today. We did a great thing. We met on Twitter, of all places. Imagine that, or since we're calling it. And besides that, I'm so glad I did because we had a lot of fun talking with him now. I'm going to tell you all about him here in a minute, but I got to tell you about Rim's Transport before I get to Crackerbox. Rim's Transport, as you know, is a very, very cool owner-operator-based company here in Hamilton, Ontario. I know, you're thinking, Bruce, what makes them so special? Well, let me tell you what makes them so special. First of all, they got three divisions you can look from. They got a flatbed division, they got a bulk tanker division, they got a vendor division. The cool thing is that they know that they want to stay 5 to 800 miles radius from Hamilton. So, you want to run California, they're not the company, they're not going there. The reason is they know their market, they know what freight is in that area, they know how to get you back home. That's the cool thing about it. They have divisions on multi-axle highway, they got tandem highway, and they got local positions. Give them a call. They're all based out of Hamilton, Ontario. They've been around for a long time. And you know what I know is I know the general managers personally, and they are the kind of company that's going to make sure that you are successful. They do not believe that the owner-operators have taken money and leaving the owner-operator to die. They know that you need to be successful, and when you're successful, they're successful. That's how they work. They pay on a percentage, and they supply a trailer for you. So you don't have to have a trailer, you just got to have that willingness to work and bring your own truck. So they're looking for a good owner-operator fleet. Got flatbed, they have a lot of steel, that kind of stuff. But check out Rim's Transport. Go to rimtransport.com. And make sure you comment on the podcast section because you love us over there too. You know everything about it. All right, let's get into Crackerbox Jimmy. Who the heck is Crackerbox Jimmy? Well, Crackerbox Jimmy is a former trucker, like I said. We met on Twitter. You can find out about him on Twitter or X, and he's got a profile on Spotify as well because he's a musician. Now, he's got some cool songs, and we're not going to be able to play them here because this is a podcast, so I would invite you to go over to Lead Pedal Radio, and if you go to our Lead Pedal Radio, go to mixcloud.com/leadpedalradio, look at In the Studio, and in January, you'll see the profile there with Crackerbox. You'll be able to hear his music and stuff like that. He's got a song called Bone Shaker, which is about a 93 Peterbilt. He sings about Kenworth. His latest single is Angel Band and Please Mr. Please, and he's got some stuff coming out. So he's always writing. He's not looking to be a major star like a Garth Brooks, although if you want to pay him, he will probably take the money. But he's just really into trucking. We got talking about old school trucking, and I got to tell you, when you're an old school trucker, you can talk about that all day because those days are special to the people who were part of it, and they're not around anymore. And I don't think we could even recreate it. It was the kind of environment that was just happenstance, and it started on its own. It happened on its own. You met people where they were. You didn't judge them, and you helped everybody you could. And that was what made it a great industry. And unfortunately, we don't have that anymore. I keep harping about it, but we're not there yet. Anyway, let's talk with Crackerbox. Let's find out what he's doing, how he's doing, why he's doing it. And you're going to love this interview, folks. So let's get on with it. And here you go. It's Crackerbox Jimmy and a former trucker from the United States. Here we go. All right, everybody on the line. I've got Crackerbox, as he's known, and he's a Crackerbox, all right. He's a truck driver, musician. Jim, welcome to the show, my friend.
Oh, thank you. Glad to be here. Thank you.
How are you? Where are you calling home? I'm by Toronto, Canada. Where are you calling?
I am close to Eureka, California. I'm about as far away from you as I can possibly get. I'm up here in the Redwoods. But I'm like a mile and a quarter as the crow flies from the Pacific. So I'm out here in the middle of nowhere.
Wow. So you're way over on the West Coast. Well, you know, that's the power of Twitter or X or whatever they're calling it now.
Yeah.
So I don't care. I don't care where you live. As long as you're a good person, that's all that matters to me. So let's start about let's start about the truck driving first, and we'll get into your music and stuff here.
Sure.
You're a former driver, right? When did you start driving?
Yeah. Oh man, I started driving in 1982 when I was 19.
You and I are the same, man. I was 82. I got my license. I was 20 when I got mine.
Mm-hmm.
So there
Yeah,
you
yeah,
go.
yeah. 19 when I got mine, and just dove right into it.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
did you long haul or what kind of trucking did you do?
Well, because I was 19, I couldn't go out of state until I was 21. So I did a lot of, I was in Michigan. So I did a lot of stuff right around all over through Michigan, driving for companies that service the automotive industry.
Okay.
And as soon as I hit 21, I got to, yeah, gone. Yeah, went to work for a company that first company that would hire me going coast to coast. I said, I'm out. Let's go. I got things to see.
Yeah. Now, are you still driving or what are you doing now?
No, I hung it up in 2017.
Okay.
It kind of beat me up a bit, and I just had enough. I'm still driving professionally, but not in a big rig. I
Okay.
drive for a medical courier out here and put my skills to use out up and down through the woods here. It's a
Very.
lot. It's good.
Yeah, I stopped driving professionally 2006. I drove for 25 years,
Mm-hmm.
but I became the boss. So I thought I wanted to be the boss, so I was in charge of a fleet. And then you start dealing with people, and you realize I should have stayed in
Oh,
the truck. I probably would have stayed there
yep,
better.
yep.
I miss it. I mean, this the nice thing about this is I'm able to stay connected with my buddies and go to all the truck shows and have a
Mm-hmm.
reason to be there more than just an attendee. So it's
Mm-hmm.
fun. It's good to be part of it, but I do actually miss it. The problem is I'm looking for, I don't know about you, but I'm looking for the job that once a week, it's got to be a long nosed Pete. It's got to be clean, got to be chromed up. I want to be home by 5 and I'm anywhere in the winter. So my wife says, good luck with that. So that's
Yeah, yeah,
the job. That's what I keep looking for anyway.
yeah, yeah. Good luck.
I've offered a couple of the guys around here. I go, look, let me know when you need to take a couple trucks down to the show. That's my job right there. I'll
Mm-hmm.
your chrome truck down. But
Mm-hmm.
so when did you start playing music then? You drove for a long time. When did you start playing music?
Oh boy, I started playing music in third grade. My parents handed me this gigantic, bigger than me brass instrument and said, "Here, go learn this." And it was in high school though that I started playing guitar,
Okay.
and
Like all,
and just never let that go. Took it with me. Had a guitar in my truck with me everywhere I went. So
okay.
it has just been my constant companion.
Yeah, I was a drummer in high school at that age of 13, 14. I started playing. I played for a couple of years, but I hated school. That's what got me into trucking. I dropped out of high school. And all my friends, I thought you had to learn to play music. And I said, I'm not going to any more music school or anything like that. So I dropped that. Now, all my band friends, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of them don't know how to read music. They've all done it by ear. I wish I'd known that. I would have stayed drumming, but
Mm-hmm.
it's my thing. So you played during the road. Now, is that you've got a lot of songs to do with the trucks, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. Is that where it all came from, or what type of music do you prefer normally?
Oh boy, I listen to an awful lot of old bluegrass. I listen to the classics. I love Doc Watson,
Yeah.
Seldom Seen, just Sam Bush, all the classic bluegrass players and the newgrass players. Yonder Mountain, love their stuff. That's where a lot of my influence for my trucking music comes from, because in the 50s and 60s, there was a lot of old Napier and Moore,
Yeah.
And Red Sovine, all these people.
Good ones, the good ones.
Yeah, yeah. So my love of all kinds of music, thanks to my wife, she turned me on to the bluegrass, and which reminded me about all these old trucking songs that I used to listen to that I'd forgotten about,
Yep.
and started listening to them again and thought, they could use a little bit of a modern lift.
Yeah. So now, so is that what you write? I mean, from what I've seen, it's been mostly trucking songs. What have you gone professionally with this, or where are you with your career as far as the music goes?
I am recording out of my house. I do everything that you've heard. I've recorded right here in my living room, and I put it out because it's a way to tell my story as a driver. My wife's been telling me for a long time that I really should write a book. And if you read my writing style, you would rather read the phone book. I am boring on paper, but I can sing. I can tell you a song, and I can play the guitar, and I can tell you a story about trucks through song in a manner that I'm just not able to relay in any other way. So, it's more of a labor of love. If I make a couple of bucks on it, fine. It's mostly about telling the story, about telling the history of driving, telling the story of trucking, and how my story fits into it. Because it's a common everyman kind of story, working person's tale.
Yeah, no, that's what I love about the road. So you must have seen a big change. I saw a big change from when I was driving, and you've been on the road since we come on the same time, and you even went to 2017. So, what's your thoughts of the trucking industry today, man?
Oh boy.
You'd probably go on for about 3 hours with that one. But.
Yeah, no kidding. I think the biggest thing, trucking will always be trucking. There will always be guys on the road, women on the road. The thing that I missed, that I noticed the most, it was the demise in camaraderie, the lack of drivers being able to just help each other, for younger drivers to be able to get the knowledge of the older drivers. And I think a lot of that came in by way of the mandated e-logs, because it used to be, and you've been out there, used to be, if I'm sitting on the side of the road and I'm having a problem with my truck, I've got two guys that are either getting a hold of me on the radio or they're stopping, and between the two or three of us, we're going to get me fixed, and we're going to get me at least up to a truck stop, where I can get something else done. Hands would get you on the CB and say, hey, give me your dispatcher's phone number. I'll call them when I get up to this truck stop. And I think that's been legislated right out of the trucking industry because of the e-logs. Because I'm sorry, I don't have time to stop. I'd love to help you, but my clock says I got to go, and it's that friendship aspect of the whole thing, I think, that's gone.
Funny, I had this conversation the other night. I agree wholeheartedly with you. There was so much fun on the road. We may have been busy. We may have always been, trucking somewhere, but we all used to wait for our friends, that you knew everybody at everybody else's company, whether they were, part of your team or not. You knew who they were. You'd run together, and nobody runs together anymore. They don't talk to each other. They don't even answer I still got CB in my truck, and it may as well be off. And nobody says anything.
No,
I used to have when I started, I worked for a lot of long haul, and then I went to a chemical company, and the chemical company, I had a whole folder of letters from people that I've helped change a tire over the years, and somebody I ride to and whatever. And then the company just said, no more stopping at the side of the road. You've got a truck full of I said, yeah, I get that. But man, if that was my wife out there or something, I would want someone to stop. And so they made us stop doing that. And now I know I've got sponsors on my podcast that are not even putting CB radios in the trucks anymore.
Wow.
No, wait. So I'm sad, because that was the fun of being on the road. You may have been away from your family, but you still felt like someone asked me the other night, isn't that so long that you were driving? I said, I talked to a guy for 9 hours from Indianapolis to Dallas. Still don't know his name to this day, but we had the longest conversation for 9 hours.
Yeah.
And you don't do that anymore, right? It's a shame. Sure. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the CB, the CB conversations that you have, they were a way for information to get exchanged between the old drivers and the new guys, and it kept you awake. Yep. You learned things, and it kept you alert while you were driving. You're yakety schmacking about nothing in particular for 9 hours and having a grand old time with somebody that's going to get off and go west on 40 when you get down to that interchange, and then you pick up somebody else and you just keep going. I miss that stuff. I do
too. And it's like, we're having a lot. I know you're probably having the same thing in the States, but here in Canada, we're having a lot of incidents with truck drivers, 71%. And I try to be positive, and I try, it's a lot of times it's the car fault, but the drivers now, you drive down the road in a new Peterbilt, it's like a Cadillac. You don't even have to shift gears. You don't have to do anything. It's quiet. I tell my wife, I go, man, the old Western Star I had, there is no way you could fall asleep in that sucker. With rattling and shaking and making noise and doing the CD right at you. You could not.
No kidding.
I always found. Now you actually wrote a song about a '93 Peterbilt. Was this your truck that you wrote about, Bone Shaker?
I did. Yeah. That Bone Shaker, that was an old '93 Pete, had been a over the road truck and had seen better days. So it got picked up by this farm that I was driving for. And I will tell you what, my hat is off to anybody that's driving in agriculture. That was the hardest driving job I ever had. But that old Pete, and you take a look at the cover art for that particular song, for that Bone Shaker. That's the truck.
Okay.
That's the actual truck. And I was delivering a load of, I had just driven out of a cornfield and taken it over to this facility that the farm had, where we would dump the freshly harvested corn into this thing that would then dry it. And that's what all the dust is, just this giant cloud of dust. And everybody hated that truck. Nobody wanted to drive it. So I talked to the mechanic. I said, man, let's put a little bit of work into this thing and I'll drive that thing until it just dies. Yeah. And we fixed it up, and it earned its name, man. That thing was one rough riding truck, but it would go through anything I wanted it to go through snow, out through the middle of the cornfields and mud. That thing never got stuck. It was a monster. I loved it. I found out had an old Series 60 Detroit in it, and it finally blew up and got sold for parts. I was kind of sad.
I remember those 60 Series Detroit for sure. Yeah. So was that the first truck that you wrote about? Was that one of your first songs? What was your very first song that you wrote about?
Oh boy, the first song that I can remember writing, I was sitting in the cab of a truck in Defiance, Ohio, at a General Motors foundry, and wrote a song about how I really just wished I was home.
A lot of us felt that way on our first trip.
Oh yeah. That's, I had my truck with me, and that's what I did. Or I had my guitar with me. And when I got stuck anywhere for any length of time, just pulled that out and start playing, start writing.
Yeah. Okay. So are you considered a Kenworth guy or a Peterbilt guy? Because you've got a song about a dream Kenworth too. So what's going on here? Which is our favorite?
Well, when it comes right down to it, for body style and looks, I'm a fan of the old Freightliner XLs. Those nice long hooded Freightliners.
The first ones that came out, I had one of those. They were really nice, extended.
Yeah. I've driven a lot of Pete's, and other than that old 93, to tell you the truth, I really don't care for them. I don't care what anybody says. It's not my style. I've driven some Kenworths. I love driving old Kenworths. Yeah. The older the truck, the happier I am. I like one that's well broken in. Yeah. I got to drive a brand new Pete, a large car, and it had 18 speed, no governor. Wow. It was another farm truck. It was a monster, but we didn't get along. Yeah.
You're probably wearing your Kenworth hat when you should have been wearing your Peterbilt hat. That's what takes it out of there. So your dream Kenworth, tell us about that song, because you wrote a song about your dream Kenworth. What's that?
Yeah. Well, that whole set of songs that you're talking about, those are all cover tunes. Those are every single one of them are old tunes that have been written a long time ago. Okay. And I've modified them, given them a little more bounce, given them some drive, tried to make them sound like the lyrics felt to me. And that Kenworth of My Dreams song, that song is that whole album, that first album that I released, tells my story of getting into trucking. That first tune, Kenworth of My Dreams, is about setting everything else down and just diving right straight into trucking, disregarding what everybody else says. Yep. And, telling you, that you don't want to live behind a wheel. You don't want to live in a truck. You don't want to be on the road. I'm sorry. Well, thank you for letting me know that. and I'll see you when I get back. You know, that that's pretty much what that song is about.
We sound like brothers, because that's exactly what I was told. I was told, you don't want to be a truck driver. Some guy told me that. I was pumping gas at the time. He says, you don't want to be a truck driver. He says, I tried it for 2 years. I didn't make any money. Thank God, because there's no more pumping gas around here. So if I'd done that, I would have been out of work anyway. But you know, 40 years later, I'm still in the industry. So what he was talking about.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So, okay, I ask every musician this. When you write a song, do you write by words and title first, or melody first? How do you put a song together?
I put them together. I'll get a concept, a broad concept of what I want it to be about. Usually write the chorus first and then flesh it out from there, understanding the verses are going to shoot off of how the chorus is set up. Right. Start out with a riff, just a little simple chord progression to match that. And then my wife tells me, I don't need to hear the 7,000th version of this song. No, I can't tell that you changed this or that. No, nobody else but you knows that you did anything to it. But it sounds different. So, eventually, I write the song in pieces, and that's usually the way I work. Chorus, chord pattern, flesh the verses out, start the recording, and see where it leads. Because every single song that I record sounds radically different at the end than what I thought it was going to be. And eventually I have to just put it down and go, no, this is enough. It's okay. Set it down.
Your wife's name isn't Carmen by chance? Because that's my wife.
No, it's not.
My wife is always saying, because I mean, and I think that's part of doing this from home, because I've got a home studio too. I think no matter who you are, pretty well most people have a home studio. That's how most recording you get to, unless you're even Garth Brooks has a home studio, for crying out loud. Everybody's got that. And my wife's always going like, I can hear you. She doesn't hear the whole show because she's in the living room. So she only hears me talking. She doesn't hear the music or any other stuff going on. So she's always like, I can hear you too. That's turn the TV down. So, okay. So now you've got your latest one is Angel Band and Please Mr. Please. Tell us about that song, because that's kind of different than what you were writing the other songs, I thought.
Well, the Please Mr. Please, that was actually a dare. A friend of mine said he was talking about that song, and it's an old Olivia Newton-John song. Right. And he said, man, somebody needs to cover this song like they mean it. You listen to the lyrics, and Olivia Newton-John song is this beautiful, lovely song about how she's sitting at the bar with a glass of whiskey, mourning the loss of a relationship. And I'm listening to it after my friend said that, and I said, no, that's an angry drinking song. That's straight up what that is, and it needs to be covered like an angry drinking song. Don't play that song on that jukebox. I don't want to hear that song again.
You live in one of those neighborhoods.
Yep, near any old truck stop honky tonk.
Those are good. Nothing wrong with those. So now Angel Band, is that based on your band? Is that your band name?
No. Angel Band is an old, the original version of the song was written in the late 1860s. Okay. At the tail end of the American Civil War. And it was written as the prayer of a dying soldier on the battlefield, waiting for the angels to come and take him. And it's been a bluegrass standard for a long time. Numerous people have.
You rocked it up a little bit, because
I rocked it up quite a bit. Yeah. It's just been this quiet song. And I love that genre of Americana songs. And that song, Wayfaring Stranger, that's on the tail end of the first release I did, are covers of these old songs about that are essentially a version of a prayer. So I take them and just make them drive, make them sound like the emotion that's behind the writing with a danceable beat.
All right. All right. So that's cool. So now, okay. So you're doing your own recording. Now, are you playing? Can people see you? Do you play in your area there or concert?
No, I don't. I am straight up a studio guy right now.
All right.
Well, we had a band started, and the bass player who plays in a couple other bands, and one of his bands is on tour in Australia right now, and he had the practice space, so that's all on hold for right now. But between having a day job and all the other things I've got going on, I really don't have time to put into that kind of management of people and time and space. The way I'm doing it now, just doing all the recording by myself. I'm playing everything on these recordings except for the drums. The drums are a machine.
Yeah.
But I'm doing everything else myself, and it's a way to unwind, so I don't really want to turn it into, oh my God, where's the drummer? Where's the bass player? Oh, is he going to be able to play? I don't want to deal with any of that stuff. So it's just recorded on my own, make it the way I want it to be, and have fun with it.
Fair enough. And it looks like it brings you the joy of the old days and being on the road, and your background. You've got all of that on the walls too, which is very cool. So, okay. So you mentioned you had a show. Now I didn't know this. So tell us about your. Is it a radio show or a podcast or what is it?
Yeah, it's a podcast. We just recorded episode 6 here. Tail end of last week.
You had some catching up to do. We're at 1,000. I don't even know 1,000.
Yeah, we got our work cut out. Yeah. You have met my co-host. His name's Toby Bogard. Oh, he was on. Yeah, he was on your show a while back.
Yeah, I got to get Toby back on. Actually, hey Toby, I did not ignore you. He sent me an email not too long ago, and I was super busy, and I think I forgot to respond. Now, are you involved in his film project too?
Not really. No. Not really. But we work. We help promote it. We do things. The show I've got, if I can plug it here real quick,
by all means, yeah.
We are the 6 Million Miles show.
Okay, so you got to tell me about. We're either talking $6 Million Man from the '80s, or
the 6 Million Mile show between Toby and I. That's how many miles we've got driving experience, and the show is about just old school truck stuff. Telling the history. Our idea is to let people know how trucking used to be. What was it like before the people that have all that knowledge pass? Yep. To get that stuff out there, to teach people, to educate people of what trucking used to be and where it can go from here. That's the point of the whole thing.
Yeah, very cool. I've just been doing a snippet here for this year called Turn Back Tuesdays, where I just talk about the history of the industry, and that I just did it for this year. I'll go on to something else. It was just kind of like a special episode type thing. I think we need to do more of that. I do some training up here once in a while. I fill in for a couple of the trucking schools in my area here, and I'm constantly telling them about the fun on the road. Like, they're missing that part. And everybody's just looking for a job. I don't know about I fell into trucking. My dad's an accountant. My parents were banking. My mom worked for the airline. Nobody was in trucking. No, they didn't even know what a truck was. They're from Guyana. I was born here the year after they came up here. So it's not like they knew about trucks or anything. Came up here, fell into it. I started in the moving industry and just, I've loved it. I still love the trucks. I'm like, my wife says, we go to a show and she's like, you've seen that truck 100 times. I said, I don't care. Look, it's reflecting off the grass perfectly at this show.
Yeah. My parents weren't in trucking industry. My dad worked for General Motors in Flint, Michigan. And he had a little bit to do with transportation, but didn't deal an awful lot with trucks. I fell in love with the silly things when I was like 6 years old, and just knew that's what I wanted to do. That's where I wanted to be. I wanted the adventure. And that's, I think, you hit on something that coming into trucking in this day and age, if you're looking for a job, if you're looking to make big bucks or whatever, nope, you need to get into it because you love the job. It's a lifestyle, it really is. It's a way to be. It's a way to get out and see the country and just dive into the culture of being a truck driver. Those are the people that stick it out.
Yeah, I just had fun. I'm glad they paid me, but I know my friends were the kind. I always had really nice trucks. I was that kind of person. You give me the oldest truck in the lot, and I will still polish it up like it's brand new. And I've always been that. So I've always been kind of in that group of most companies where you've got about 10 or 20 guys that are really into the shine, and that's what we do. But that's what gave me opportunities left and right. Like companies, they see that they'll buy you $200,000 trucks just because you take care of it. They're going to go to another one, and they keep you running. I always had like really. I always kind of went where I wanted to go. Like I did run Jersey 3 times a week, but I also went to Florida and Texas, and I never wanted to run California because I didn't want to be gone that long. And no company ever asked me to be gone that long. You know, I said anywhere I can be there and back in 8 days. So I think we need to get to that. I don't know how we get to that with the new generation, but we need to get to that to get back, right? So.
Yeah, isn't that not the problem of any generation in any industry, that you've got the new people coming up and they're not being taught to not respect the elders, because that's not really what it is, but to understand what everybody went through to get them to the point where they can have this truck that's like a rolling apartment. I started driving some real pieces of garbage, things falling off and whatnot. One of them caught on fire. But to get to that point, to understand, how we got to where we are now, bridging that generation gap to get the older guys to understand that there are some of the younger drivers that do want to know this stuff and learn, teach. I
had an awakening just actually this weekend. So I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm a caricature artist as well, the kind you see at theme parks. That's why I do wedding and corporate events. So on weekends, that's usually what I'm doing, is going to an event. And my wife does all the booking. So she scheduled me from a wedding in one town until midnight to another. I had a morning event like an hour away, and so it was no worth coming home. Like it was out of my way to come back home. So I actually slept in my pickup truck the other night. Okay, so this is where it gets interesting. When I started trucking, we had 32-inch sleepers. I think I started in the cab over, so I'm not even sure what size those were. But I'm in my truck the other night going, I wish I had a 32-inch sleeper because I could at least stretch my legs. I couldn't stretch my legs out. My legs are bent. I'm in the back seat, and I'm like sleeping where, there's a couple of guys who are hot shots, and, I'm in the corner of the Flying J parking lot where it's not the big trucks, it's the smaller trucks, and we're all everybody's sleeping in their vehicles. And I'm going, I remember a day when 32 inches, I had to get a big Peterbilt bunk and all of this, and now I would just be happy with a 32-inch because I could have stretched my legs. I thought, wow, this is a real awakening. I'm like back into starting where I started from. I felt weird, but my wife's like, "You, I can't believe you slept in the parking lot." I said, "We do it 25 years. I did that. Nobody else bothered me." So they're a little about that. Where should we go? Where should we go to follow you there, Crackerbox? Where do you want people to go? I know I found you on Twitter, and I know your stuff's on Spotify. Where else would you like people to go?
Well, the best way to get a hold of me is just finding Crackerbox Jimmy on what used to be Twitter. And my music, you can find my music just about anywhere that you stream music, except for Pandora. Okay. Every other music streaming service on the planet has got my stuff, and you can just search for Crackerbox Jimmy, and it'll come up.
Okay. All right. Pandora. I haven't heard that name. And are they even still around? I didn't know.
They are. They are like a juried art show. I've got 2 songs up on there, but most of my stuff, frankly, the audience wasn't enough to go through the difficulty. And please, would you play my song? Would you put my stuff up there, please? Oh, corporate gods. Nah. I decided to skip that one.
Smart. Smart. That's smart. Well, listen, thanks for being on the show today, man.
You're welcome. Thank you.
To talk with you. I didn't realize you're with Toby. So tell Toby I say hi, and I gotta check out your show because I got a feeling I'm gonna enjoy some of those episodes of. Keep
cool.
going, man.
Good. Thank you.
Keep going, but you'll get there. It's your goal now. You're at 6. So I always tell people your first goal is to get to 20, then to get to 50 shows, and get over 100.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably in there. So hopefully you'll keep going. If you ever want a guest, I'm happy to talk old school trucking any day of the week. So,
sure. Absolutely. We would love to have you. We would love to have you.
Yeah. Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
It's been great talking with you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, that was a great interview with Crackerbox for sure. So check out his stuff on Twitter and Spotify, and give him a follow, give him a like, whatever. Buy his music, do whatever you gotta do. And like I say, we'll be replaying this interview, but with his music on in the studio. So check that out as well. Hey, you know what? Before we get going, let me tell you about somebody else. You know, Harness 2000 is a tax agency here in Ontario, but they specialize in trucking and farming. And you want to make sure if you're a trucker and owner operator that you got somebody who understands your taxes, what it takes, what write-offs are allowed. As you know, we have big issues with driver increments day and age. So make sure that you got things going properly. And Harness 2000 is set up to do that. They come to you, so they're located in Ontario, Canada. They will kind of help you if you're an owner operator, and they will get you all set up. That's all they deal with. So they don't deal with flower shops. They only deal with people in farming and in trucking. They get your tax set up. Save money when you can. We're not saying don't pay your taxes. We're saying pay your taxes, but keep as much money in your pocket as possible. So if you're an owner operator in Ontario, Canada, you want to look for Harness2000tax.com. Give them a call. Tell them we sent you. You're going to love it for sure. And thanks very much to Crackerbox Jimmy for being on this episode. Folks, you can see more of us on our socials. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, X, YouTube. And you can play this podcast wherever you get your podcast platform episodes from. So share it out. Crackerbox Jimmy also has